Shalom, good evening. Purpose of this video is to speak about our relationships with people and why you can't wait until tomorrow to say you care or how you feel. What we find is that our days on this earth are numbered. We only have a certain number. Um, Unfortunately, unless in the case of a person being executed, we really don't know what that number may be. We don't know if we're going to live today, tomorrow, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 100 years, but maybe we all live to be 120. But so it's difficult to go. I always say go through life hating or disliking someone or not engaging them and saying, just something as simple as, hey, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, or sometimes you just got to take stuff and throw it away. Growing up, I've had friends that were really, really, really close and had a falling out. And here it is over 15, 20 years later, you still don't talk to those people or deal with them. Well, we've got to grow out of that. We've got to get to a point of um, consolidation. How do you deal with the person who's wronged you? Do you have to forget that they wronged you? No. You can forgive them. Do you have to necessarily invite them over for Sunday dinner? No, you don't. But having a dialogue with that person, you may not even realize that that person may be repentant if they wronged you. Or if you wronged them and they're forgiving of you, you should take that as a positive. If they forgive you, take it as a positive. Try to mend those bridges. We, as individuals and human beings, we have a lot of disconnect from our fellow human being, even if we know them or don't know them. We can say a guy with a MAGA hat on, so, that person's deemed a certain way, or you know, in the gang where a person wearing blue or red or whatever color, they're deemed as something. You judge them based upon that. We've got to get out of that judgmental. We've got to get out of that um, dislike, distrust, and build bridges between ourselves and build bridges to our communities, build bridges to the world, to our cities. You know, we go in and we have politicians that we don't agree with their policy. Well, it'll go from I don't like their policy to I don't like that person. Well, in many cases, you don't know that person. You've may have never met them, or you may have met them once, in passing or whatever, but you truly don't know that person. So, taking the time to get to know that person, if possible. Our, famous people, we can only judge them based off of what we know or hear in the tabloids about them. But on an individual level, to the basic human being, we've got to mend our bridges, show love, give love, and accept love. I mean, I'll say this probably 100 times. You know, when you love somebody and you know how much you love them, it's difficult um, to walk away or allow a situation to end, or to say I accept that it's over. It's difficult, but we have to work through that. Secondly, when we're dealing with people on the street, how hard is it to say hello? Uh, Case in point, and I do this quite often. I'll walk into different stores and I'll literally speak to people no matter where I'm at. I'll just say hello, 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 and see how many people actually speak back. Um, I'm actually currently in Louisville, Kentucky, and I did this earlier in Kroger. Spoke to about 15, 20 people. Out of those maybe 15 to 20 people, less than half spoke back. And the most interesting thing about the people that did speak back, they all spoke back with big smiles. Um, that's part of our disconnect in this country, in our cities, especially in a big city, because you don't generally mesh with everybody. You know, the population's bigger, so you know less people unless you're somebody famous or very important in that area. So I found that by just walking around speaking to people, I drum up conversations. I got back to the hotel a little while ago, and I was walking outside. The only reason I'm doing this video from the inside right now is because this hotel is right next to the interstate, and you would never be able to hear me. But I was walking, and this older gentleman walks up and he says, "Hey, I see you getting some laps in." Me and this guy held a 10-minute conversation about many different things that had absolutely nothing to do with the thing that we had in common. So, let alone somebody that I've known and have had a falling out with, how much conversation I can have with that person just catching up on the time that's been lost. Um, I've lost friends, family that you left unresolved business with before they passed. You know, conversations that you didn't have, conversations that you wanted to have before that person passed. I don't really talk about it a lot, but when my dad died, it hurt a lot because I was on my way to see him that day when he passed, and it was hard. It was extremely hard. Um, I won't go into me and my dad's history, but we weren't the super closest. But as I got older, teenage and young adult, he and I got really close, and found out we had a whole lot in common, actually. So, you know, not just parents, but friends. You gotta reach out to them. You gotta give them a little bit of time, and just say, hey, look, I know me and you had a falling out about Keisha or whatever. Go beyond that. Let it go. Um, I've known people that fell out about a girl, and neither one of them were with the girl now. I mean, how ludicrous is that? Makes absolutely no sense. But at the time, it was a very heated issue. I mean, even in my life, I had to get over some stuff. When it came down to my son's mom and her boyfriend situation at the time, it was difficult. But hey, I got over it because that's kind of what you have to do. You have to learn to accept the situation, no matter how hard it is. And you know, that's just my short talk of the day. But if you got somebody that you don't like today, don't wait till they're gone to tell them, hey, I'm sorry, or hey, can we talk, or just simply say hello. I mean, some situations may not be able to be resolved easily, but if you don't have a dialogue about the situation, then you can't solve it. We can't come together as a people. We can't come together as a community. And there's a concept called Tikkun Olam. We can't fix the earth. We have to fix ourselves, and by fixing ourselves, we gotta start with us, and then all the people we touch. With that, I'll say have a good night.